Oh, hello.
Hello, hello, everybody. We missed you last week, but we are back in action. The real football fans of New Jersey here, Katie and Caitlin. This is episode 198. We are 2 episodes away from our 200th episode, and we do have information to share with you later on in the show regarding our in-person live episode.
So excited.
So please stick around until the end of the show to hear the details for that. But we have so much to catch up on. Obviously, 2 weeks worth of big news in the world of football and the world of housewives. But we are going to kick off our show with 3 questions. We got a bunch of questions sent in to our social media platforms, and we do have 3 questions that we're going to go over and answer for you guys before we dive into our big stories. So the first question is Giants related. It is like going in, starting to think about some of the past NFL drafts here. But question number 1 is, what was your favorite Giants draft pick from the last 3 years?
Oh, it's funny because I love the question, but then it's like, is it hard? Because do I think the Giants drafted well in the last 3? And it's a big question mark because maybe some people still pan out for us. Look at the beginning of the season, how frustrated people were with Andrew Thomas. Now at the end of the season, people were like, oh, thank God, he did great. I love, drafting a big guy like him, me and my lineman. I love them for sure. I go on a more personal level. I loved the Xavier McKinney pick in the second round. I think the Giants do great in the second round. We have pulled up those receipts before when we were on Talking Giants the one time. We pulled up that long list of receipts of how well the Giants do in the second round year after year. So Xavier McKinney was a second round pick. He is out of Alabama. That is why he's number 29. So that's near and dear to my heart, one of my favorite numbers. And I just think that he's definitely still a young player, and I think he made an impact this year. I did say, I think he had 3 or 4 picks this season, and I was like, if he gets another one, I'm getting his jersey. So I have to buy his jersey technically. I had a thing there, but I think over the last 3 years, he is definitely my favorite pick. So.
All right. So I'm going to go with Andrew Thomas, and it's very easy to be like, of course, you're going to like your first round pick. But things were a little shaky in the beginning with Andrew Thomas. But yes. Listen, he was in our 2020 draft. He was our first round, number 4 overall draft pick. And I think the reason he has to be my favorite is because for the last 3 drafts that we're discussing, and certainly this one going ahead, it's been the same theme. We need offensive linemen. And so to have gone with our first pick, such an early pick at the 4 spot, and it feels almost as though Andrew Thomas is like our only solid lineman right now that we can really rely on and really trust and know that we can almost build around him. It has to be him, because that's been our biggest need position-wise for the last however many seasons. And luckily, we were able to hit on one of them. Let's hope that we can do it again with this upcoming draft.
All of our picks, hit on all of them.
We've got those 2 early first-round draft picks. I know plenty of us are hoping for an offensive lineman that we can hopefully hit on as well. But of course, like I said, Andrew Thomas is kind of like our stable offensive lineman right now. Even though he's like a young player, we have to look at him as like he's like the core guy right there. And he's the one that we can build around, and it has to be him for me. So,
well, yeah, and I think too, if you look from a leadership perspective, we lost Logan Ryan, we just recently lost Jabril Peppers. Will Hernandez has gone to the Arizona Cardinals, which is random as hell. If Katie and I have to be honest, we had no idea that happened, and it was just so random. But now you look at that line, he is that leader there, but he's also a leader on this team, and I know he's young, but he's got to step up, and he's got to be one of the biggest voices for the Giants this upcoming season. So,
absolutely. All right. Question number 2. Obviously, this is the hottest division in football now.
Hot.
Where do we think the Las Vegas Raiders will stand in the AFC West this season? How are they going to fare?
Ooh.
Of course, against the Chiefs, against the Chargers, and against who am I forgetting?
The Broncos?
No.
Broncos?
Yeah, the Broncos.
Yeah, the Broncos. Yes, because Russell Wilson just went to the Broncos. Yes. So that is why hot. Honestly, I think it's now, I think, Russell Wilson going is a game changer. I do want people to understand, though, that maybe one person might not change it all. I mean, look at Peyton Manning. It took him how long once he went over there to kind of rally the team together and then go on to a Super Bowl. So it's going to take time. So I want Denver fans to kind of cool it down a little bit. Vegas, though, they are a sketchy team, in our opinion. We do think year after year kind of what's going on in Vegas. They've had definitely some really bad, situations happen to them in the past year, but they're doing some big moves in the offseason, building up that roster, kind of putting a lot of, emphasis on Derek Carr, things like that. I'm going to give them third in the division, though. So, Katie and I love to give our bold early predictions in a couple months. So, guys, don't worry. Well, you'll know where we see these teams standing in a couple months. But for now, I think I'll confidently say third in this division, which could go to all four can go to the playoffs. So.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, I think a third place finish in the division is, as crazy as it sounds, is fine because, I do believe this is a division that could send three teams to the playoffs. Unfortunately, they will all have to face off against each other. So that could be, where they get some losses from in the loss column. But yeah, like, do I think with what they've done in free agency and everything, obviously getting Devontae Adams, do I think that they're better than the Chargers? No. Do I think that they're better than Kansas City? No. I do think that Denver is the outlier, but obviously they're getting a huge upgrade at the quarterback position. I think it's going to kind of be similar for the Raiders again. And honestly, they might even get a better record than they did this past season, but I still think they're probably looking at a third place finish, like you said. So,
yep.
But and that is with also saying that they could still easily be a playoff
go to the playoffs
with that third place finish.
Right.
Okay, and last but not least, let's go road tripping. This is a Giants question.
Let's go to the beach. Let's go get away. Dang. Maybe not. Maybe. Oh, only one of these teams. I think we're going to the beach.
Yeah, if you could go to any Giants road game this upcoming season, what would you pick? And I do have our options here for the viewers to hear what we were choosing from. Obviously, you could always go to Dallas, Philly, or Washington, but you could also go to Green Bay, Minnesota, Jacksonville, Tennessee, or Seattle. Kate, what are you going with?
So I am going to go with Seattle on this one.
My answer.
I did. So Seattle is a very cool city. I had the, privilege to go there a couple of years back. My company actually used to have an office in Bellevue, Washington, which is right outside of Seattle. So it was cool. I just joined the company, was shipped off right to Seattle. So it was very cool. I've always wanted to go out to the West Coast, Seattle, Oregon, that whole area. So really cool. But what I loved the most when I went out was how I know the Seattle fan base is, very pop, the 12th man, they're very close, everything like that. Being actually in it firsthand was very cool. They were playing the San Francisco 49ers the Monday night that I landed.
Wow.
And it was truly they are the 12th man. Some people might make fun of them for that mentality, but I got to tell you, it was so great. You see people just walking into the hotel lobby. Hey, is the game on? I'm walking by. I don't want to miss 5 seconds of it. Like to get things like this. Really, really cool. But what it sucked the most for me is that I knew they were playing San Fran, and I didn't find out until like the week I was planning my trip that they were actually playing in San Francisco. So I was like, damn, because if they were playing in Seattle, I 100% would have gone to the game because I want to see it like in person in the actual stadium. I got to experience it firsthand just on the streets of Seattle, which was very cool. Wow. You even drive by on the highway, Katie, and you pass like an abandoned building and it's a huge number 12 on it. It's very cool, like very cool like that. So I would love to see the Giants face Seattle in a stadium where I know it's not like if we lost, that would suck, but I'd still love the atmosphere around me. I want to experience that 12th man energy inside Seattle.
Yeah, so it's funny because I've definitely so my husband takes a road trip every year. He always checks out a different NFL stadium, and I know Kate and I have we vaguely talked about in the past,
we talked about it right before COVID happened. So
we should do that. We should go to a different stadium, and I'm all about traveling. So for me, I kind of always think about this question, and I think of it more so in where do I want to travel to?
Right.
That's what I think of first. And then I think of the stadium itself and which team it's going to be second. So actually I kind of like both location wise, I want to go to Seattle. I've never been there before. It's a spot that, like you said, it's great. I would love to go and check it out. And then it also happens that when I look at it at a standpoint of what stadium do I want to go to? What atmosphere do I want to be in? Yeah, I would love to sit there and experience the 12th man.
Right.
I would hate for them to interfere with the Giants as they're playing the Giants, but I think it would be a very cool stadium to check out. And I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
I'm going with Seattle on this one.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you guys for sending in those questions. We appreciate it. And we are live. So, Kate, they can ask us questions. Where should they go?
So we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and the Twitter. I see a ton of you guys already watching on the Twitter. I keep looking at my phone on the app, but unfortunately I can't see when you ask questions. I mean, you can reply to us directly and I can see it and I'll ask it live. But if you want to send it through and you want me to put it up on the screen and you want me to answer it right here, us to answer it right here, Facebook and YouTube are your best bets. I have already put the YouTube link on the Twitter, but if you guys just want to watch, that's totally fine. You want to ask questions, you want to chime in though, go ahead, get on the YouTube, get on the Facebook, or just reply directly on Twitter. So keep it coming the whole episode, and we will keep interacting with you guys. So let's go ahead and get into our NFL quick hot topics. This is a topic that the people have been waiting for.
Yeah.
Holy guacamole. Even the NFL Twitter account put it out with those red siren emojis. It was bah, 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 bah. That's exactly what they were trying to get at. So yesterday, NFL league owners approved a change to overtime rules. Here's the kicker for the postseason to ensure that both teams will receive a possession. So it only applies to the postseason. Again, kicker. Teams who won the toss in a playoff game are 10-2 in overtime. So let's look at that. So when that format began in 2010, so that's a big win there. 10-2.
I think league owners took that as okay, maybe there is kind of an advantage here. So
maybe just 10-2.
Yeah.
So here's more here. If the score is tied after each team has possessed the ball, the next score wins. If the team kicking off to start scores a safety, then they win. So I guess they're treating a safety technically as a touchdown. Field goals are field goals because everyone's going to get a possession.
Yeah, I think a safety is obviously a very hard thing to accomplish. So they're kind of looking at it as if you do that,
but that's good defense. So they're giving the advantage to the defense there, when in the past, overtime has always been in favor of the offense. So
right.
I like that. I do. And I like that they're treating it technically as a touchdown win there. So hell yeah to this. Hell no to that it's only for the postseason.
Yeah.
We clearly saw a wild postseason this year where it was a lot of overtime and a lot of us screaming at the TV. If only they had different overtime rules.
Right.
There's so many memes out there of the teams that lost in overtime, just kind of staring at this new rule, being really. But it is funny, but it's I've been just being a college football fan, have just said year after year, why is college football so advanced when it comes to overtime? And listen, we don't want the Penn State, I forget who they played this year, where they had 12 overtimes. We don't want that, but we want something better than coin toss, touchdown, field goal, game over. You know what I mean? Like, we don't want that anymore. So I'm very happy with the progression with this. And I think that they're like trying to test it out in the postseason. But what if we get to a postseason, Katie, that's no overtime this year? Then what the fuck? Kind of, you know what I mean?
Well, then we'll have to wait till next year to test it out.
But then I think, that's the thing. I think they're trying to test it in like, I don't, and not that I guess preseason, no one's tying, I guess, but like, I don't know. I get it. It's a risk thing. So there's only X amount of postseason games. So let's try to test it there as opposed to an entire, what do we have? 18 games now, 17, 18 games, as that many, like, I don't know. So, but so they're trying to like eliminate a lot of the risk factor. So what if it does suck, doesn't work out? The NFL doesn't want to get screamed at. Oh, boo-hoo, Roger Goodell. But, and the rules committee. Yeah. So I guess that's kind of like where my head is at. Like, it's like, I get it. I'm happy with the progression, but it's like just the postseason. Like, we're going into 2022 with zero overtime in the postseason. But we'll see.
I hope not. We definitely obviously want to see it tested out. I think that there will be at least one overtime game in the postseason this upcoming season.
Yeah.
And then, I think if all goes well, I would definitely try and push this into the regular season for sure.
Yeah. So we got a comment on YouTube. It's so confusing to me. Hey,
it's not that confusing.
It's not. You just kind of have to, like, in my mind, just like think of the last postseason. Don't think about last regular season. Think about what was the game with the Bills when they lost. Think about that game and then kind of put it in this scenario. So it's a little bit easier to actually think about a game that actually happened, to where you were that fan raising your fist being like, these rules suck. So kind of think of it in that aspect, and it's a little bit easier to understand. I think the confusing part that I think it's the postseason. I think that's what is throwing a lot of people off as well. But again, it's a risk factor. The NFL understands there's X amount of regular seasons games, there's X amount of postseasons games. If this is only going to happen one time, it's going to happen in the postseason. If it royally sucks, we're only going to get yelled at once as opposed to 15 times. So think about it in that way. I know it's a little confusing, but just read the official statement from the NFL like a little bit, and just it'll get easier to understand. So, but I'd love to see it in action. Can't wait. So we're praying for ties or overtime in the postseason next year, people. Every night, just say a little prayer for you forever. Alrighty. So this is another one. We know who's on Hard Knocks. On Monday, it was announced that the Detroit Lions were selected to appear on the next season of HBO's Hard Knocks, which will air first on August 9th. Storylines to watch here: head coach Dan Campbell's second season. Will they draft or bring in someone to compete with Jared Goff? A look at their number 2 draft pick, Jeff Okudah's rehab after their 2020 number 3 draft pick tore his ACL in last year's season. So, and then also too, interesting, I think this is Jared Goff's 3rd time on Hard Knocks.
Yeah. That, to me, like,
oof, that just kind of,
I don't know. Like, I wish, okay. So every single, this news felt like very sudden to me, only because
it was very sudden
in the off season. You and I get on this show, and we obviously, there are rules for who can and
give the
cannot
rundown
on Hard Knocks, and we always go through the options, and we always talk about who we want to see or who we don't want to see. I don't even know who the options were this year. I'm sure that the Lions were not the only ones. But I'm disappointed with this pick. Not only do I think this is going to be a boring team to follow, it's one of the worst teams in the NFL.
It's going to be very boring.
I don't need to see Jared Goff a 3rd time on Hard Knocks. And that's not anything against Jared Goff. I don't need to see any quarterback in the league 3 times on Hard Knocks. I'd rather get a different look at somebody else. Obviously
they better bring in someone to compete
the most important position. That's who we want to follow the most, and we don't need to follow the same guy year after year. So I hate this pick. I don't know what our other options were, but I guarantee they were better than the Detroit Lions.
Well, I'm going to leave it up to you, Katie, to give us the play-by-play once Hard Knocks come. Listen, people, I watch it.
I don't know. I really don't know.
You got it, though. You got it, because I'm going to keep forgetting to watch. I do it every season. I'm like, I'm watching, and then I forget. So, and then I catch it like 3 weeks later. So, like, I'm the biggest, like, even like the in-season one this year, you were so much better than me.
I was going to say, don't forget that this last season was the first time they ever did a mid-season Hard Knocks. They picked a different team. They did the Indianapolis Colts, which worked out like wonders for them because obviously the Colts started off the season awful. I think they were like, what, 2-5, 2-6, something terrible. And then they went on this really great run. And it ended up being like a fascinating team to watch make this huge mid-season turnaround. So keep in mind, if you're also like me and you're disappointed with the pick of the Detroit Lions, they're going to do
another.
They would do another mid-season team, and we will get a look at somebody else. And to be honest with you, I don't think there's any rules for the mid-season team as far as who can get picked for that. So that could be up in the air, and we'll definitely get someone better than the Lions to watch.
I think the mid-season one should be like 6 teams. Like, give us everything. Like,
I don't know, but like I'm telling you, like watching the Colts,
give us a division, a whole division.
It was a good one. It was very fascinating.
No, definitely. So, and again, I think you were not the only person to watch it. I think it was successful viewership wise. So they're definitely going to do another mid-season one.
Yeah, I thought it was great. Why not?
Yeah, absolutely.
For the NFL, if it works for the NFL, it certainly had to work for HBO. So I'd love to see that again.
Absolutely. And yeah, listen, we have until August 9th. So, we just shared with you like a couple of storylines. I'm sure there's going to be a couple more like once we go through the draft.
Who that number 2 draft pick is going to be. That's going to be really interesting to see.
Absolutely. So there's definitely going to be more there. So we'll definitely keep you guys updated for because again, we can't keep you updated on who we think is going to be Hard Knocks. So we know it now, but we'll keep you updated with what we kind of think is going to come out of it. And once it airs, if again, I neglect it occasionally, but I'm going to make Katie watch it so she can give you guys a rundown. We'll give you guys as much as we can from it.
All right. Well, obviously, like I said at the beginning of the show, we were not with you last week. So we have 2
feels like ages. Miss you guys.
This list is going to
I know
ages. We do want to keep you posted on the free agency moves, and this is going to be a long list. This is not all of them. These are like the big ones that get broken out on like NFL's like Instagram account, like the big ones that they want to notify everybody, not like the Will Hernandez moves, like the big moves.
No, like we didn't know, but this is like 2 weeks ago when you read your list.
I did this 2 weeks ago. I'm going to drink some water before I rattle this off.
She killed it, people. I was just like, go.
This is a long one, but we're going to get through it. And Kate, as I'm going through it, definitely, if there's any that spark your attention that you want to talk about, by all means. So Miami signed running back Raheem Mostert. Tampa Bay agreed to a 3-year deal with wide receiver Chris Godwin. That was good that they were able to lock him in and get him back. The Buffalo Bills released wide receiver Cole Beasley. The Rams signed wide receiver Allen Robinson to a 3-year, $46.5 million deal. That is a scary wide receiver group. They did lose someone. We'll get to that. But Pittsburgh signed linebacker Miles Jack to a 2-year deal. The Las Vegas Raiders traded for wide receiver Devontae Adams. And in return, Green Bay is going to get a 2022 first and second round pick.
As they should.
Yeah. Kansas City Chiefs, they signed wide receiver Juju Smith-Schuster. Obviously, we know they lost Tyreek Hill. So Juju is getting a 1-year, $10 million deal. Atlanta signed wide receiver Cordarrelle Patterson. Keeping him.
Yeah.
The Rams agreed to a 4-year, $160 million contract extension with quarterback Matthew Stafford. The Rams traded wide receiver Robert Woods to the Tennessee Titans. So they are losing Robert Woods. Atlanta, this was big news. Atlanta traded quarterback Matt Ryan to the Indianapolis Colts for a 3rd-round draft pick. So it kind of is like, we've been talking a lot about like bridge quarterbacks. Like he's not going to be your long-term thing. Matt Ryan's coming towards the end of his career, but he's certainly an upgrade over Carson Wentz to potentially, you could
do something
for a Super Bowl.
Yep.
New Orleans, they re-signed quarterback Jameis Winston to a 2-year, $28 million deal. Atlanta, obviously losing Matt Ryan. We are potentially going to see Marcus Mariota get another chance to be a starting quarterback. He signed a 2-year deal with the Falcons. Tampa Bay re-signed running back Leonard Fournette to a 3-year, $21 million deal. Minnesota signed linebacker Zadarius Smith to a 3-year, $42 million deal. Miami signed left tackle Taron Armstead to a 5-year, $75 million deal. Kansas City traded wide receiver Tyreek Hill to Miami for 5 draft picks. And then Miami, of course, signed him to a 3-year, $75 million deal. Big money for
dollar bills, y'all.
Dollar bills, y'all. And now that boy's out there with Jalen Waddle. Oh my
that like wide receiver combo gives me so much like sweat. Like I'm sweating so much right now, like just thinking about it. Like it's hot in my house, but it's that those names together, like that makes you sweat.
Yeah, absolutely. New England signed quarterback Malcolm Butler to a 2-year deal. Kansas City signed wide receiver Marquez Valdez-Scantling to a 3-year, $30 million deal. Aaron Rodgers is just losing his guys over there. So too bad, so sad. Kansas City signed running back Ronald Jones to a 1-year deal. Kansas City did a lot of moves in free agency so far.
They are.
I kind of like this next one. New Orleans also signed quarterback Andy Dalton to a 1-year deal. And the reason I like that is, okay, they're not getting their franchise quarterback this offseason. They're just not. They're re-signing Jameis Winston, who I think is capable of, he's not your long-term answer, but he's capable of being a starter, but he is coming off of an injury. So in the meantime, if he's not ready to go for the start of the season, you do have someone who's also been a starter in the league before in Andy Dalton. New England signed safety Jabril Peppers to a 1-year deal. We will obviously miss Jabril.
I'm sad.
Very sad about that, and we wish him the best.
I know, I do though. I am sad, but wish him the best.
And then last but not least, in what I am going to deem as the craziest quarterback free agency period I think I've ever seen in my life.
Didn't we call last year the year of the quarterback? I'm an idiot. It is now the year of the quarterback.
The craziest one I've
it's quarterback roulette. I had texted you that the other day. It is. Think about roulette, people. It is quarterback roulette.
So obviously we had Baker Mayfield say that he wanted to move on from Cleveland.
What a wild 24 hours.
Cleveland, he hasn't found a new home yet. But Cleveland has decided to be proactive about that. And Houston traded quarterback Deshaun Watson and a 2024 6th-round pick to Cleveland, while Houston will receive a 22, 23, and 24 first-round pick, a 22 4th-round pick, a 23 3rd-round pick, and a 24 4th-round pick. Wow, that is just insane. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Honestly, we're going to play a game later in the show, by the way, and we're kind of looking at the offensive skill players for each team. And this is a game that we had played last year. And if you pull up the receipts from last year and see just how many of the all the positions, quarterbacks are changed. How much they've changed.
Yeah.
It blows your mind.
It
honestly blows your mind. I totally believe this is the wildest free agency I've seen as far as quarterbacks go, and just flipping and flopping and changing and everything like that.
This is going to be one of those seasons come September when you're watching that first Sunday in football and you're like, oh shit, he plays for now. Oh my God, didn't even realize. So definitely a couple thoughts on this list. A lot of things going there. This is not my get it off my chest. I've already said my piece on Twitter, so you guys can see it already. I think the Browns are an atrocious organization for going after Deshaun Watson. I am not a fan of it. I don't think it's okay. And Again, you can go to my Twitter. You can see all of my thoughts on it. The biggest thing, though, is that your owners had to come out and make a statement the day after. If you are okay with your decision to go after him and you think it's fine, you think it's all sunshine and rainbows, don't make a statement. Stand by what you did. That's fine. You don't have to come out and make this royal statement. You did what you did. That's it. Move on. Get over it. So I don't agree with you, though. Many people don't. So that's my thing on Deshaun Watson. We'll see what goes on there. Listen, big things. Tampa Bay, honestly, great with Chris Godwin. Loved that, them getting him back. Absolutely. Same thing with Leonard Fournette. Good for you guys. The extension with Matthew Stafford for the Rams, no brainer for them. I kind of question Kansas City with wide receiver, Juju Smith-Schuster. He isn't Tyreek Hill, so I don't know what's going on there. It's not
there's Tyreek Hill is a top 3 wide receiver in the league, so there's nobody's filling the shoes.
No, but to me that's a massive downgrade in my opinion. A lot of teams though are still in need for a wide receiver, so Cole Beasley being on the board, kind of be optimistic.
No.
You think no?
That dude.
Katie, there's so many teams that need a wide receiver. Any wide receiver. Honestly, I'd keep your mind open in that one. So I would
say Cole Beasley shouldn't play in the NFL and nobody should touch him. So.
I mean, there's teams that literally have no one. No one.
And again, we're gonna in our game later on, we're gonna talk about offensive skill players, and there are a lot of teams in need of not just wide receivers, running backs, tight ends, just playmakers.
Anyone in general. Yeah. And then just finally, the Atlanta trade of Matt Ryan to Indianapolis and then bringing on Marcus Mariota was very interesting for me. You guys know, if you've watched the show for 4 years, I am very much a Marcus Mariota fan. I really am. Always wanted him to get his shot. So I actually don't think that this is potentially giving him his shot. I think this move put Atlanta in a position to try to get someone this year, seeing what they'll do there. And I think that if you're willing to give away Matt Ryan for a 3rd round pick, to me, that shows that how do I word this correctly? I think it's kind of negative for both the Colts and the Falcons on this one. So the Falcons were willing to admit that Matt Ryan is only worth a 3rd round pick. And then the Colts were only willing to give up that for someone. So I don't know. So my mind is a little bit boggled there. We've discussed this many times that the Colts are going through this phase right now where it's very much like sticking a Band-Aid on it and hoping something comes in the next couple of years. This is what Matt Ryan is for them. I see him in the NFL for the next 2 to 3 seasons. A lot of people pin him a lot more. I don't think so. This move to Indianapolis, very similar to what Phillip Rivers did. We only saw him for 1 season there. So that's kind of how I pan it out. So long list of things, a lot of moves. Those are just my quick thoughts on all of it.
I have many thoughts, but the one I'm going to say before we move on is I'm going to say that whether something happens in free agency or something happens in the draft, I'm going to say that Marcus Mariota is not going to be the week 1 starter. I still think he's going to be the backup for Atlanta. I think they will bring in another piece. They will bring in another player. Think, they had to bring in somebody. It could be Baker Mayfield. You never know.
Or they on the market, people.
But I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, Marcus Mariota, he's finally going to get his chance." And
I'm not thinking that, and I want him to get his chance.
Yeah, it's not. As much as it sucks what happened to him in his career, I think I still don't think he's gonna get that shot. So
I know, me neither. That makes me sad. Still, I do want him to get a shot, but it is what it is, people. You got to take it for what it is. All righty, let's move into Housewives. We are coming back to football later with a really fun game, one that we played last year. We're excited to play it again as we go into the 2022 season. So let's go ahead and let's talk about an upcoming seasons. This is hot news that developed over the past week. And I got to tell you, I mean, I wasn't really in on the media, the social media and all the media stuff last week, but this was something that I had to dive into because it was truly hot breaking news. So we are rebooting and recasting The Real Housewives of New York. So last Wednesday, Bravo confirmed that they are rebooting and recasting The Real Housewives of New York after 13 seasons on air. In addition to a newly casted RHONY, Bravo will be casting a throwback iteration of the franchise. So real quick, I want to read a quote from Andy in regards to this reboot and everything like that. So Andy said, you know that we're at a crossroads for RHONY. We spent a lot of time figuring out where to go. And the plan that we've come up with, I think, is a real gift to the fans. There are thousands of stories to tell here. This is the most multicultural, diverse, and energetic and exciting city in America. We are searching for a multicultural group of friends who really best reflect the most exciting city in the country. We're looking for a group of women who are real friends, who are diverse background, races, and religions. So it's kind of like a big like duh there. And I say that in the fact that we've said this for many years that, you know, Ebony being like the first Black female on RHONY last season was kind of mind-boggling because it is New York City, literally one of the most diverse cities.
Right.
You could do anything in New York City. You could be anything in New York City. Like nothing is one definition of a single person. Like you can be literally anything and everything you want to be in New York City. So we found that so shocking that it was the first time in franchise history. And I think Andy, you know, hit this spot. So that's where I'm kind of saying duh there. Like, you kind of just realized that you could have done this. So I understand the reboot. And I think it makes sense because it was definitely an epic fail these last couple seasons, just not doing so great. So that's for the reboot. But then Andy Cohen announced that internally their throwback show is referred to as RHONY: Throwback, or RHONY: Legacy. It'll feature ex-cast members from the original show over the year. And he also said that the RHONY reboot is being developed and produced by Bravo, but he's unsure whether it will air on Bravo or Peacock, and no one has been announced yet. So my take on this is that obviously the reboot, I think, needed to happen, but Andy and the Bravo producers probably sat down and they were like, if we kick everyone off RHONY, people are going to be at our doorsteps with like pitches and like, what are those called? What is that? Pitchforks, pitches. I said pitchforks and like fire things. Like, no, like, because it has been around for so long. I think that I love that they use the word legacy with RHONY because it is a OG like franchise. Mm-hmm. So, but I'm also very intrigued by this legacy, new show that they're talking about because we'd love to see Bethany back, Dorinda back, and they're only recently removed, but they make up so much of the history of the Real Housewives of New York. So I think it makes sense. And again, nothing has been announced, but what are your thoughts on this? This is big news.
I think the article I was reading, it sounded like Andy was kind of inspired by the success of the Ultimate Girls Trip, of kind of like bringing in a bunch of OGs and like seeing them. And so like, if you're going to be, it's almost essentially doing the same thing, because if you keep some people that were just on like Ramona and Luann, Sonia, but then you almost make it feel like a Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip by bringing people from the past. Just from the RHONY past, though, maybe you bring in Jill Zarin, bring back Dorinda, like Tinsley, who knows? Then it gives you that kind of vibe.
Right.
And so I think he saw the success of that and wanted to kind of emulate that. If they air it only on Peacock, I will. That's where I'll bring out my picture.
I will riot.
Yeah, that will not be good.
Stop trying to make Peacock happen. Like,
And I did see something along the lines of in the article as well, Andy being open to, because obviously like the biggest thing for them when they cast people is they don't want to just cast a random person. They want to cast people that are actually in that friend circle.
Right.
So now you're starting from scratch, but I know that it's very important to them to bring in a friend group, right? So he has spoken about bringing Ebony back. And if he was like, by all means, if we find that Ebony has like a good friend group that we can bring in for that, we would do that. Let's just completely and utterly, if we're going to start from scratch here, I also want to throw Ebony out the window too, because I did not enjoy her on Housewives. I don't think we need her back. And I do believe if we are doing something so crazy and severe as like wiping everybody out, then I think
wipe it
too. So let's just completely start again. Completely start new. It's very scary. There's going to be a lot of pressure with picking this group of women. But Andy did like look at it as a challenge. Like we're out. He explained that he thought it was like the most exciting casting process he's been a part of, because he's like, we're essentially picking the new Real Housewives of New York. Like you are
Isn't that wild?
Bringing a whole new group of women in. They've never done anything like this crazy before. So it's going to be interesting. I'm nervous, and I feel nervous for them that there's a lot of pressure there in getting it right.
Right. Oof. It's wild. It's wild. It was very big news last
Andy
week,
says it's exciting. I would think it would be extremely nerve-wracking. So we'll see how they do.
Well, hey, listen, we had the same reaction when they announced Salt Lake City at BravoCon, and we were like, what? Right. So it's kind of, if you're saying what to yourself.
And starting a new franchise is not only starting a new location, but that is like the same thing of bringing a brand new group of women together. And they were very successful with Salt Lake City. So they kind of just have to look at it that way. Like, we're starting from scratch here. Just treat it like we're doing this location for the first time.
Well, listen, Bravo is making bold decisions. They did Girls Trip. Yeah. The first one has been wildly successful. Apparently, they did a second one. I've watched a couple episodes of the first now that it's on Bravo. It's very good. I am liking it.
It's good. I haven't caught any of it yet.
It's good. I like seeing the multiple like location women together. It's very cool. Yeah. It's like a challenge, so to say. So I know you're into the chat. Like, think of it like that, kind of. Like, it's cool to see. Like,
I believe that it's good. I just haven't caught any of it yet.
And then they brought Miami back. Miami is only on Peacock. Their ratings through the roof for Real Housewives of Miami. They are bringing it to Bravo, so I think I'm gonna try to watch it again, because I haven't watched it since it aired like years ago. Mm-hmm. And then they're coming out with Dubai. And now they're doing this. So Bravo is making very bold decisions, and it's paying off for them. We'll see what goes on in Dubai if we do actually like it. But now we're going to see this with New York. So I think that it is a time where Bravo is like, we have to get our shit together, but they're actually also kind of like putting all their chips into one. They're just pushing it.
And it's either going to bring them into the next like 10 years, right? Or it could kind of halt business. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy to think like, I think New York was the very first one I ever watched. And I believe that first aired in 2008. So we've been on over a decade now. And like I said, this could either launch you into the next decade or, sink the ship. So we'll see how it goes. I have faith.
Yeah.
And we'll see how it all plays out. But I already forgot about Dubai. Like I'm
excited.
I forgot about that. So big moves from Bravo.
Well, all I'm saying, in 10 years, when we're still doing this podcast, we better be on the Real Housewives of New Jersey. Damn it. Like, come on. Like, we live here. We're talking about it. Just put us on, Andy. Like, I know I have to get married technically, but we'll get there eventually. Right?
None of those New York women were married.
Well, New Jersey, I think it's a little bit of a requirement in New Jersey. So, don't make me do anything, Andy, okay? I think you should just put us on. We're already there. We're talking about you. We'll get more famous in the coming years, don't you?
Well, our second Housewives story, it happens to also be RHONY related, and it involves our girl, Miss Luann de Lesseps. So the other week, a drunk Luann was kicked out of a gay piano bar in the city after grabbing the mic, belting out tunes, and telling booing Patreons F you.
I'm sorry, but is this really a crime?
It
sounds like a night out to me. So.
It's supposed to kind of be a place where you get up and like sing one song, but Luann tried to like take over the show and like put on a whole set. And she was singing several of her own songs while kind of slurring her words until that like led to the people booing. After the incident, Luann took to Instagram to apologize for her behavior, even though she also originally denied that she was kicked out in the first place. But I do have the quote that she had on Instagram. She said, "This week, after a regrettable incident, I was faced with the truth. I want to apologize to the staff at Townhouse and anybody else I may have offended with my behavior. Clearly, my struggles with alcohol are real. While I've made great strides over the years, there's been times I've fallen. It's one day at a time. I'm in recovery and taking steps to ensure this doesn't happen again." Right. So I think like, obviously ever since like 4 years ago with the incident with Luann getting arrested in Palm Beach, going into rehab and everything like that, it kind of feels as though Luann has never fully gone through a stage of like long-term sobriety.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying she has to. I'm not going to judge. I'm not going to pretend to be a doctor.
I think she's been honest with that, though, that she's like, I'm not being sober for the rest of my life.
She's not hiding that. Obviously, there's been times, yes, probably a couple months here and there where she just hasn't had anything to drink. And then when she comes back, she kind of slows herself into it.
Right.
I'm not saying that she has to be completely sober. Again, I'm not a doctor. I don't know what's right for her or not. But she was obviously clearly embarrassed by this happening. And obviously doesn't want any incidences to be in the press, especially ones where it's because she was drunk. And that's something that, it's one thing to drink socially and like enjoy yourself, and another thing to where you're making headlines. And I know that this is going to be like a setback for Luann. I wouldn't be surprised if she really cools out for a while and gets back to, the non-drinking. Yeah. And we just hope she's okay, because we love Lou. And honestly, if we had been there and she wanted to sing Money Don't Buy You class, I would be like, free concert, baby. Let's go.
I think I would have been saying F you to the people booing her to be.
That's our queen. Don't you dare.
Don't you dare. It's interesting though, because my cousin lives in the city, and he goes to this one piano bar. And when I saw the headlines, I was like, no, is that the one my cousin goes to? But it actually happened. We were together last Wednesday night, so he wouldn't have been there. But I still thought it maybe was the one, but it's not the one. But I still, because like as I would have gotten, Katie, we would have gotten the scoop, the inside scoop. But now that we know that she's like wandering around like these places in the city, I might have to have like a mole investigate some of these areas. So.
The city is a big place, and I have a feeling it is a lot of piano bars. So,
well, I mean, now that we know that you can just get up on stage and sing at places, Katie dabbles in the yoki, so maybe you'd like to dabble in the yokes. So, you might want to get up there. So it's not karaoke though; you have to memorize the words. So,
I would definitely be down to sing some Luann. But apparently people don't like that. Apparently the people boo. So
you get booed off. You get booed off stage.
Oh, Lou.
All righty. So that was it for our stories for housewives. So let's go ahead, and we're playing a game, a fun game. It's called Them Boys Got Skills. So 1 year ago, we played a game.
She froze.
Am I frozen? Am I here? No. I think you froze, not me. Can you hear me?
You froze.
I think you froze, Katie.
You froze and we both froze.
I was moving like this the whole time. I think you froze.
That's my screen.
All righty. So in the case that we both froze, I will repeat myself. We are playing a game. It's called Them Boys Got Skills. So a year ago, we played this game for the first time, and we're bringing it back. We take a look at each division, and we're going to rank their teams 1 to 4 based on who has the best offensive skill players. We're looking at quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end. So let me scroll on my list. So the best way to go about this is we're going to go to each division, and I'm gonna read everything. And again, guys, if I don't pronounce a name right, please don't come at me with daggers. You know I'm bad at this. I'm gonna go through. So I think the best way is to go through each team, and then we'll give each other our rankings, right?
Yep.
Alrighty. So let's start off with the AFC East. So in Buffalo, we have quarterback Josh Allen, running back Devin Singletary, wide receiver Stephon Diggs, and tight end Dawson Knox. In Miami, we have Tua Tagovailoa, running back Chase Edmonds, new wide receiver Tyreek Hill.
He froze again.
No, did I? Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay, where did I leave off at?
Chase Edmonds was your last one.
All right, and then new wide receiver Tyreek Hill, and then Mike Gesicki, tight end Mike Gesicki. In New England, we have quarterback Mac Jones, running back Damian Harris, wide receiver Jacoby Myers, and tight end Hunter Henry. And then in the New York Jets, we've got quarterback Zach Wilson, running back Michael Carter, wide receiver Corey Davis, and new tight end CJ Uzomah. All right, let's go with, and I did number 1 as my best one. So do we want to go 4? Do you want to go 1 to 4 or 4 to 1?
We can go 1 to 4.
All right, so who do you have as number 1?
I have Buffalo.
Oof, of course. We've got the Buffalo Bills here. Who do you have for number 2?
2, I have the New England Patriots.
So I'm actually going with Miami with this one, and it's really because of the Tyreek Hill pickup. So, and again, I brought it up earlier. You know, the Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, gives me the chills, the hot chills, makes me sweat. So definitely, and obviously, I think when you look at Hunter Henry and Mike Gesicki, I do really like Mike Gesicki over him. So had to give the 1 up to Miami there. Number 3.
Number 3, I have Miami.
All right. And I got to tell you, this was my, and I think the quarterback is different for me here. But when it came down to running back, wide receiver, and tight end, I really like all 3 of these players equally. So sincerely, I gave a tie. I didn't give a 4th place spot here. I gave a 3rd place tie to the New England Patriots and the New York Jets. I really could not pick, and I could not. And I think the Jets fans should be like, wow, like I feel good about myself right now. Like you really should, honestly. Like I really liked the offseason move to get tight end CJ Uzomah. I really liked what he did in Cincinnati. So I think that's a great pickup for them. Zach Wilson, I don't know. Obviously, I love Mac Jones more than him. I couldn't with the other players. So, but obviously, number 4 for you goes to.
Yeah, so I made the decision for you. It's the New York Jets at number.
I know, and that's fine. I really couldn't. I really couldn't.
And then I just have like comments for each division. My comment on this one is I love the tight ends in this division. And
I do too.
I think you can make arguments for each one of them being the best in their division. You got Dawson Knox, Mike Gesicki, Hunter Henry, and CJ Uzomah. And honestly, I think that is the bright spot in this division as far as position goes. Phenomenal tight ends in this division.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. All righty. Let's move to the AFC North. In Baltimore, we have quarterback Lamar Jackson, running back J.K. Dobbins, wide receiver Marquise Brown, and tight end Mark Andrews. Cincinnati, quarterback Joe Burrow, running back Joe Mixon, wide receiver Jamar Chase, and tight end Hayden Hurst. In Cleveland, we have quarterback Deshaun Watson, running back Nick Chubb, wide receiver Amari Cooper, and I swear to God, tight end, please help me out. Okay, when it's David Njoku. I knew how to pronounce his last name, but I swear to God, I always mispronounce it. So, David Njoku. Pittsburgh, quarterback Mitchell Trubisky, running back Najee Harris, wide receiver Deontay Johnson, and tight end Pat Freiermuth. Shoot me if I'm wrong, people. So, sorry, but interesting comment on YouTube. So this is Deshaun's division for the next decade, move to the next division. I don't agree with that.
I think it's Joe Burrow's for the next decade.
Yeah, like honestly, I'd even give it to Lamar too over Deshaun Watson, but wow. And I think I said Deshaun Jackson, to be honest. So, but because I,
Oh my God, did you? I didn't even, if you did, I didn't even catch it.
I think I did because I'm just like, I don't know. I think my mind always goes to Deshaun Jackson, to be honest. Who do you have for number one here?
I have the Bengals.
As do I. Who do you have for number two?
Baltimore.
I went with the Cleveland Browns for number two.
Okay. I have the Cleveland Browns at number three.
I have the Baltimore Ravens at number three. You know what it is with the Ravens? And maybe it's a lot of the injury this year. So we didn't get to see a lot of these players like really break out and do a lot of things. Like a lot of it was Lamar had to carry a decent amount. Even when he was hurt, there was a lot going on with the team. So I think that's kind of where my head was at there on that decision. And then number four, obviously we both have the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, which is, I think it's going to be a down season for them. So.
Yeah, I think it is. I think
offensive wise, they're still good defensively, but
I think it's going to be a rough season for them as well. I think they are the outlier in this division, in what I think is still a really strong division. And then just like the AFC East with their tight ends, the AFC North has some of the best running backs in the league, including 3 of the top 5 rushers from last season in Joe Mixon, Nick Chubb, and Najee Harris. This is a running back division. And then Cincinnati to me was an easy number one because I believe they have the number one quarterback, running back, and wide receiver in the division. And then I believe that after them, the other 3 teams could easily be interchangeable, as we saw, because obviously we had them kind of mixed up from each other. But a good, strong division overall.
Well, yeah, and someone did just comment on YouTube that they questioned why you put the Browns at number 3. I mean, you did just back yourself up with the interchangeable thing, but their argument is that we almost made the playoffs with Baker Mayfield. Now we have a top 7 quarterback. I'm here to tell you that Deshaun Watson is not a top 7 quarterback. I will die on that hill. So I picked them as number 2.
If I'm going to defend my decision on that one, I believe Deshaun Watson and Lamar Jackson are pretty close. I like Nick Chubb over J.K. Dobbins. I like Amari Cooper over Marquise Brown. And then I do like Mark Andrews over David Njoku. But David Njoku's not a bad tight end. I'm giving the slight edge to Baltimore here. Oh, wait, no. I had Baltimore at 2, didn't I?
Yes. No, you are giving this.
You guys, my brain is mush.
You are giving.
I just argued against myself.
No, you did not. The person asked why you put the Browns at number 3.
Yeah, and I just made arguments for why I like the Browns better than I like Baltimore. My brain is mush. Let's move on. My brain is mush.
We're moving on, peeps. Don't you worry. We're moving to the AFC South in Houston. Holy guacs. Look at this group of people: quarterback Davis Mills, running back Rex Burkhead, wide receiver Brandon Cooks, and tight end Brevin Jordan. In Indianapolis, we have quarterback Matt Ryan, new to the crew, running back Jonathan Taylor, wide receiver Michael Pittman Jr., and tight end Mo Alley Cox. Jacksonville, quarterback Trevor Lawrence, running back James Robinson, wide receiver Christian Kirk, and new to the crew, tight end Evan Ingram. Thank God. Go to Florida. Tennessee, quarterback Ryan Tannehill, running back Derrick Henry, wide receiver A.J. Brown, and tight end Austin Hooper. Who do you have for number 1?
I have Tennessee.
As do I. Number 2, who do you have?
The Colts.
As do I. Boom, boom. 2 for 2 here. Coming in at number 3,
Jacksonville.
Oh yeah, even with that Evan Ingram tight end position there. So maybe you guys want to fix that down in Jacksonville. And then number 4, Houston, because what is that slate of people I just read to you aside from Brandon Cooks? Oof, baby, oof. Gotta just say that out loud.
Yeah, so my notes on this one is kind of like no star quarterbacks in this division is what I noticed. And then I put down Houston may have the worst lineup out of every team in the league, and they are in dire need of playmakers. So Houston, you better be looking at the offensive side of the ball in this year's draft because woof.
It is. It's you looked at that and you literally said,
it's
Buzz,
so
Buzz, your girlfriend, woof. You literally looked at that. It's so woof. All righty. And this was definitely, I saved this one until the last thing I did.
This one's going to be hard.
This was tough. This is AFC West. So in Denver, new quarterback Russell Wilson. You have running back Javonte Williams, wide receiver Jerry Jeudy, and I'm just saying tight end Albert O here. I'm sorry, I'm not doing his last name. So if you guys can help me, took me forever to get Tua Tagovailoa's last name, and he's my favorite player in the world. So if you want to help me with Albert O, please do. Kansas City of quarterback Patrick Mahomes, running back Clyde Edwards-Helaire, new wide receiver Juju Smith-Schuster, and tight end Travis Kelce. In Vegas, we've got the quarterback of Derek Carr, running back Josh Jacobs, wide receiver new to the team Devontae Adams, and tight end Darren Waller. The Chargers, you got quarterback Justin Herbert, running back Austin Eckler, wide receiver Keenan Allen, and tight end Gerald Everett. All right. Number 1.
I won't be surprised if we're like completely mixed because you can make arguments for everybody.
You really could. This was hard.
At number 1, I have the Chargers.
Oh, and I'm happy you do, but I have the Chiefs on this one. And I think it's Juju Smith is still going to throw me off. But I still, with Mahomes, Helaire, and Kelce, I still like that kind of that return of all of them. And obviously I know the Chargers have similar, but I like that. So,
I do Kansas City at number 2.
Well, I have the Raiders at number 2.
You can totally change them up. Like it's very hard.
Because I look at Josh Jacobs and Darren Waller, and I'm like, holy shit, what a phenomenal duo. And then you put Devontae Adams into it, and you're like, mind blown, even better. Even if you have a question mark next to Derek Carr, like I do, and I'll say this to the day I die, after his leg injury, I do really not think he's been the same. And he's got to have some big bounce back in some way to prove to me that he's back to pre-leg break Derek Carr. But those 3 together offensively is really scary in my opinion. So I had to put them at number 2.
Okay.
Who is number 3 for you?
At 3, I have Las Vegas.
And I put the Chargers at number 3.
All right.
And then we both clearly have Denver at number 4. My reasoning, as I said earlier in the show, is that I love the move for Russell Wilson to that team. I love it for the Broncos. I actually kind of wish Russell Wilson stayed in Seattle. But that's because I'm a big softie when it comes to that stuff. But I don't think one player is going to make this big, massive change for them. So,
okay. Well, I noted that. I think this is probably the best playmakers collectively as
yes. 100%.
You can say that. I think we were just coming from the AFC South where I felt like no star quarterbacks. Obviously you got Houston didn't look so good. Jacksonville didn't look so good. I would say AFC West playmaker wise, offensively, certainly has the best group of quarterbacks, but I think across the board as a division, they have the best playmakers.
Absolutely. All right, let's move to the NFC, and we are starting with the NFC East. In Dallas, we have quarterback Dak Prescott, running back Ezekiel Elliott, wide receiver CeeDee Lamb, and tight end Dalton Schultz. The Giants have quarterback Daniel Jones, running back Saquon Barkley, wide receiver Kenny Golladay, and tight end Ricky Seals-Jones. Philadelphia Eagles have the quarterback Jalen Hurts, running back Miles Sanders, wide receiver Devontae Smith, and tight end Dallas Goedert. Washington has new quarterback Carson Wentz, running back Antonio Gibson, wide receiver Terry McLaurin, and tight end Logan Thomas. Who do you have as number 1?
So number 1 for me was like very obvious. And then the next 3 teams were just like, what do you do with them? Because they could be 2, 3, or 4,
right.
Mix them up. It's Dallas.
Yeah. Yep. Who do you have as number 2?
2, I have Philly.
I have Washington, and I forget whether they are the Commanders. That is their name?
Yes.
Okay. I have the Washington Commanders at number 2. Okay. Who do you have at number 3?
I have the Giants at 3.
Oof, I wasn't very nice to the Giants. I have the Eagles at number 3.
Okay.
And who do you have at number 4?
I have Washington at 4.
I put the New York Giants at number 4. So you guys can all go and say how optimistic I am. But when it really came down to this, I think it's the tight end position. I think it's Kenny Golladay at him being listed as the number 1 wide receiver. For me, a lot of question marks here. And we still
Kenny
actually
Golladay was such a huge add in free agency last year, and Kenny Golladay prior to the Giants was such a big name as far as a wide receiver goes. And yet he is so clearly the 4th best wide receiver out of this bunch with CeeDee Lamb, Devontae Smith, and Terry McLaurin. So
yes.
Yes. And then my note too, also, I said, with calling Dallas clear cut number 1, this was the only division, because for me, I based my rankings. I went like each position, like who has the best quarterback, who has the best wide receiver. This was the only division where I had Dallas I thought they had the number 1 quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end. So
yeah. I mean, could definitely make arguments.
They never do anything with their playmakers.
No, they're like the Falcons.
But very
players go to die in Dallas. All righty, let's go to the NFC North. In Chicago, we have Justin Fields, running back David Montgomery, wide receiver Darnell Mooney, and tight end Cole Kmet. Detroit, we have quarterback Jared Goff, running back DeAndre Swift, wide receiver Amon-Ra Sorry, guys. Please no one take this offensively. I'm just an idiot. Tight end TJ Hawkinson. Green Bay, quarterback Aaron Rodgers, running back Aaron Jones, wide receiver Alan Lazard, and tight end Robert Tonyan. Minnesota, quarterback Kirk Cousins, running back Dalvin Cook, wide receiver Justin Jefferson, and tight end Irv Smith Jr. Who do you have at number 1?
I have the Minnesota Vikings.
So do I. It's a very good lineup. Really, really. And you look at Green Bay, they lost a lot of people. But
yes.
Going to number 2, who do you have?
I do have Green Bay at number 2.
So do I. Yeah, because Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Jones, you really can't neglect that in looking at all of these teams and kind of, looking at all the players. So I had them at number 2 as well.
Yeah.
Number 3.
I have Chicago.
So do I. And obviously,
finally our first one.
I know. 4 for 4 here. The thing with Detroit is that I really like tight end TJ Hawkinson. It's everything else that's questionable.
I really like Amon-Ra St. Brown. He obviously had a breakout season this past year. I think that I would call Jared Goff the worst quarterback of this division, because I do see the potential with Justin Fields, whereas kind of like we just know who Jared Goff is at this point. So if I could have any of these guys, he's the last one I would want. But as far as this division goes and like my notes that I made, I didn't have anything. It was kind of just, all right, this is what it is. Nothing really noteworthy here for me.
It's pretty clear cut. We're seeing a comment on YouTube that Green Bay is number 1 every day of the week and twice on Sunday. I'd agree with you if they did not give away key playmakers during this offseason.
I really don't like Alan Lazard being your WR1.
I do not.
That's what I don't like here. So I think they need to bring in some wide receivers. They need to draft somebody.
Because he's not, no offense, Aaron Rodgers can get you up and down the field and he's going to win games for you. Obviously it's Aaron Rodgers, but he's not Tom Brady to where he can just launch it and it's cool. And Lazard is not Tyreek Hill to where he can just kind of push up his body and catch any ball in the air. So it's not
as this roster stands today. It wouldn't surprise me if Aaron Jones ended up being like the lead receiver on this team. So,
I think at this point he's going to be.
Yeah, so they need to make moves in the draft as far as wide receiver goes.
Absolutely. All right, let's move to the NFC South. In Atlanta, new quarterback Marcus Mariota, running back Cordell Patterson, wide receiver Olamide Zacchaeus. I think I got that. And tight end Kyle Pitts. Carolina quarterback Sam Darnold, running back Christian McCaffrey, wide receiver DJ Moore, and tight end Tommy Tremble. New Orleans quarterback Jameis Winston, running back Alvin Kamara, wide receiver Michael Thomas, and tight end Adam Trautman. Tampa Bay quarterback Tom Brady, running back Leonard Fournette, wide receiver Mike Evans, and tight end Cameron Brate. Who do you have as number 1?
Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay again,
Yeah, I think
probably.
that was another clear one for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Number 2.
I have New Orleans.
I have them as well. It's going to be interesting to see. Obviously, Michael Thomas did not play this last season. A lot was put on Alvin Kamara. The quarterback situation with Drew Brees leaving, definitely a lot of question marks. But still, again, if you peel back a lot of it and look at the lineup there, it's stronger than the other teams on the list. So, who do you have at number 3?
3 of Atlanta.
I'm going with Carolina.
Okay.
And obviously we are reversed for number 4. And my reasoning for putting Carolina over Atlanta is because I think that players that go to Atlanta are all going to die and not do well. That is where their careers die. They do not use players well. Look at what they did to Kyle Pitts this last season. Horrendous, awful, get him off the map. I don't see it great for Cordell Patterson to be signed, get an extension or do whatever with them. I don't know. I don't see it. They pissed me off, Atlanta, so I cannot give them that number 3 spot.
Yeah. So my note on this division, I put this group of quarterbacks is Tom Brady and then garbage. None of them are long-term answers, including Brady himself. Timeline-wise, he's not a long-term answer. He just came out of retirement. He's, who knows? And with that being said, I do believe that the running backs in this division are really stellar. Cordell Patterson, Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, Leonard Fournette. Love the running backs in this division, but the quarterbacks,
woof.
This could potentially be the weakest group of quarterbacks division.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right, and last but not least, let's move to the NFC West. Arizona quarterback Kyler Murray, running back James Conner, wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins, and tight end Zach Ertz. The Rams, you have quarterback Matthew Stafford, running back Cam Akers, wide receiver Cooper Kupp, and tight end Tyler Higbee. San Francisco, quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo, running back Elijah Mitchell, wide receiver Deebo Samuel, and tight end George Kittle. Seattle, quarterback Drew Lock, new quarterback there, running back Chris Carson, wide receiver Tyler Lockett, and new tight end Noah Fant. Who do you have as number 1?
There are playmakers across the board in this division. And so it's not going to surprise me here if we're very opposite potentially. I have Arizona at 1.
I'm going with the reigning Super Bowl champs at 1 at the Los Angeles Rams.
Okay.
Who do you have at number 2?
So interchangeable that I'm already through my 2 teams and I don't have the Rams yet. I'm going with San Fran at number 2.
San Francisco is my number 2 as well. So you're absolutely correct. A very interchangeable division for sure. Yeah. Who do you have at number 3?
I do have the Rams at 3.
And Arizona is my number 3 on this one. Mm-hmm. And number 4, obviously we both have the Seattle Seahawks. Listen, love Chris Carson, love Tyler Lockett. Obviously, we loved Tyler Lockett and his relationship with Russell Wilson. So I wonder how his dynamic is, not even with Drew Lock, whoever they have starting at quarterback, because Seattle could still potentially do something. They received a lot of real estate, clearly because of the Russell Wilson trade. So they can be one of those teams. There's still, again, guys out there like Baker Mayfield that can make a move on. You do not know what is going to happen in Seattle at the quarterback position. I love the addition of tight end Noah Fant. I think that's great for Seattle, but I don't think it's enough to push them higher up in my list. So that is why I had them at number 4.
Yeah. So in playing this game, I wrote that, this is my final division that I'm covering. And it's made me come to the realization that we actually have good running backs in the league again. And I know really think about it until playing this game. We used to always argue year after year on our show that fantasy football wise, it was like there were a couple of guys and then everybody else was shit. And playing this game, I'm like, wow, we got good running backs in this league again. You got James Conner, Cam Akers, Elijah Mitchell, and Chris Carson in this division. And then I also said this is one of the scariest wide receiver division of the bunch. And I put, who would ever think Deebo would be number 3 out of them? Because I've got Cooper Kupp and DeAndre Hopkins above him, and calling Deebo Samuel the 3rd best out of this group is just mind blowing.
Right.
Deebo's amazing. And then you got Tyler Lockett at 4, who's amazing. This is the wide receiver division, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So good game, really, but I realized I have good running backs again. So that's exciting.
I know. Turn a new page in the NFL. A new page, a new day.
Well, great game. It was really good to break everybody down,
Yeah.
especially with all the moves in free agency. I'm letting you know that I did have like the lineups from when we played this game a year ago, and like nobody had the same set of guys. They've all changed.
It's so
brand
different.
new looks for every single team, all 32 teams. So whatever we read right now, it's not going to be this way next year. So
everyone needs to read 32 rosters prior to September of this year. So, because nothing's the same, people. Yes. Nothing's the same.
So, anyways, point in the night where we get it off our chest, positive, negative, football, housewives, life, wine, anything you want to talk about. Kate, why don't you go first?
Listen, I got to say that there's so much going on right now with chatter, with free agency. What are teams going to do in the draft? And I think one, thing that we're always going to hear, one narrative that we're going to hear is that, around Daniel Jones with the Giants. And, did we make a mistake with him? Oh, he's got to prove himself this year. Don't do that 5th year extend things, everything like that. So you'll hear every narrative in the world, whether you're with him, you're against him, or you're somewhere in the middle. So that's the luxury of being a New York Giants fan. You're going to hear it all. And you're going to hear the crazy, you're going to hear the normal, and you're going to hear the, what the hell are you thinking? So basically, I was listening to the radio. I was listening to The Fan a couple days ago, and Kim Jones, very obviously popular analyst for the New York Giants, New York sports in general. She doesn't just do football, so hats off to her, because I could never not do I can't do more than football, to be honest. Don't really like other sports, so just like football. So hats off to her. She was filling in for like the 7 to midnight slot at night. So that's also a wild radio slot to do by yourself. So good for you. But she had made a claim that, the season after we got Daniel Jones in the draft, Justin Herbert was in that draft class, and he had made the decision the year before to stay at Oregon, and that upset a lot of people because people wanted him, saw a lot of potential, things like that. The New York Giants being one of them. So the narrative or her commentary was basically that coming into the draft the year after Daniel Jones, it was like, we still kind of want him. Do we go after him? But what do we do? We just did our 1st round pick on this guy, things like that. And now she was saying that she thinks it was a huge miss for the New York Giants to not advance on Justin Herbert or try to do everything in their power the year after getting Daniel Jones, things like that, or trying to get him the year after Daniel Jones. Someone just commented here that Bruce Arians just retired. Katie, can you fact check this for me?
Sure.
I'm going to keep going. I'm actually not going to go on with this. So until we find this out.
Bruce Arians steps down as Tampa Bay Buccaneers head coach, and Todd Bowles picked as successor.
Okay. I'm telling you, there is something going on in Tampa Bay. I had said this on the show previously. I think there is some internal struggles going on in there. And I think there's a lot.
Yeah, there was the whole thing with him and
Antonio Brown. Yep. And I think that's the reason why Tom Brady pulled the trigger to retire. What's going on?
Tampa Bay is tweeting that he's transitioning to the front office as our senior football consultant.
That's weird to me. There's something going on. Okay.
Todd Bowles, by the way, is obviously more than capable of being a head coach in the National Football League. He's done it before, and people were looking at him this offseason. But yeah, this is
very weird. Well, shout out to Miguel 1162 on YouTube for pointing that out to us. Yeah, we don't know what's going on in Tampa Bay either. That's the question we just got in.
Nobody believes Bruce Arians retired on his free will.
Yep, listen, there's something going on in Tampa Bay. There's something they're not telling us. I don't know what movie that's from. There's something they're not telling us. What?
Bruce Arians was reportedly outraged at the Buccaneers' impending decision to trade quarterback Tom Brady. My sources confirm that the team My sources confirm that the team has a deal to send Brady to the Miami Dolphins in the coming days.
What? Are you fucking kidding me?
I don't know. We're not going to. we're not going to say anything more on that because that's like a very, very, very old thing that hasn't happened.
I'm done with my get it off my chest. I'm not finishing it anymore. That is wild. There's something they're not telling us. I swear to God, if you send Tom Brady to the Miami Dolphins and you leave Tua Tagovailoa on the street, I will come for you, Miami. I'm coming for you. You do not leave that child out on the street. That is my child, and he does not deserve that. Oh God, it's ridiculous.
Woo!
That is
my get it off my chest is go Duke this weekend. And really that's it.
That's my get it. I am fuming, people. Fuming. Wow. But you probably didn't hear it here first. But again, shout out to Miguel watching us on YouTube for giving us that little tidbit. Katie, thank you for going in and fact checking and making sure we were talking about it. But this is wild news. We will clearly have more for you next episode. Stay tuned on all of our social media channels. We will share everything with you as we see fit. But holy guacamole, other things that you don't want to miss. I mean, things like this you don't want to miss, but whew, holy walk. Real Housewives of Orange County is on tonight at 9 p.m. Real Housewives of New Jersey is on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. The NFL draft is, I love this number. We're a lucky 29 days away from the NFL draft. And listen, here is the information for our 200th episode. We are going live in person. We are 17 days away. We're going for the big 200. We are doing it at Cricket Hill Brewery in Fairfield, New Jersey on April 16th from 7 to 10 for our live 200 episode. There's going to be prizes, games, food, and drinks. It is a brewery, obviously, so there's going to be beer to purchase. I know we're wine gals, but we're going to beer that night. Food, but we're doing games. We're doing a live episode for you guys. We'll make sure we stream it too, just in case if you can't come. We did that for our 100th as well. So don't worry, you'll still be able to access the episode even if you can't make it. But those are the details. We'll keep sharing it on social. We are so excited for this. It is going to be so much fun. It's so incredible that we've made it to 200, and it's really going to be great.
Can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. Beer and all. Let's do it, baby. Let's get it.
Let's go. All right. We got to go digest some Bruce Arians news and all of the debacle going on in the NFL. But thank you guys, as always, for joining us. We will catch you next time on the Real Football Fans of New Jersey.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.